There were some TV stations that did some very nice fact-check stories about the ads that were done. There were newspapers that did some excellent journalism exposing the truth, where there were misleading statements made in ads and where there were outright falsehoods proclaimed in some of this advertising. But the problem is that the story that appeared on the 6 o'clock news or the story that appeared in the newspaper appeared once. But the advertising was in the living rooms of voters day after day after day after day, morning, noon, and night. And that's, you know, and so maybe an audience saw that story in the newspaper, maybe an audience caught it on the 6 o'clock news, but I think more likely most people didn't catch that, but they almost subliminally were subjected to the repeated messages about loophole Louie and this and that. And when you look at this advertising, it was routine, it was across the board, it was misleading, highly misleading advertising, and sometimes downright untruthful advertising. But to counter it, you know, I can tell you, it was countered. And there was some good journalism done, but still 90% of the television advertising was purchased by 4 interest groups that clearly had an agenda and had a notion of who they wanted on the Supreme Court. And when we pay so much attention to those television ads, we make ourselves very vulnerable. So can the media do a better job of exposing this stuff for us? I suppose. But I think as citizens, we need to rise above these kinds of tactics, and we need to reject these sorts of messages and do our job as citizens and do some homework and find where the truth lies. Now, I'm a big believer that the public airwaves are public property, and I think it's striking that America stands alone as the only major democracy on earth that doesn't have some form of free airtime for candidates. We're the only major democracy on earth that forces candidates to have to raise all this money to purchase the ability to communicate with voters. And I am an advocate of free airtime, and I'm an advocate of requiring broadcasters to use the public airwaves in the public interest. But that doesn't remove from us the responsibility to be informed consumers of information. And so I think some of the blame lies with us. And you know, I think we can certainly do some things with respect to enforcing public interest obligations, which used to be enforced in this country and are no longer enforced. We can work on that front at the federal level. We can certainly work at the state level to make sure these interest groups aren't able to do all the talking, that they have to raise money in the same fashion as candidates, and candidates will actually matter and be able to get a message out to voters to counteract some of the garbage that's being peddled out there. But then we also have to take responsibility to be informed consumers of that information and make sure that we're looking to find where the truth really lies. And I think we've fallen short in our responsibilities in that area as well.
Don't you think that public television and public radio make an effort to give us just straight information?
I think a lot of media organizations make an effort to give us straight information, and either aren't able to reach enough people or aren't able to reach people with the degree of frequency that paid advertisers can. So we need to. I really would agree with something that Rick said, and I think Tom echoed it as well. You need to rely on a variety of sources. I think you should seek out conservative commentary and liberal commentary, and you should seek out multiple sources of news so that you have the ability to sort of test information against other information. I think that's the best way to get to the truth, is a real healthy competition of ideas. And I'll tell you, those TV ads are not going to be the source that will serve us well, and yet it's the source that's truly ubiquitous. It is in our living rooms every day, And that is
You
something,
don't have to tune into those stations.
and that is something that a newspaper or a TV station can't replicate.